Hey!
Spinning the shot for a minute before he decides to wander off.
Billy. Good man. Look at him. It's just like a sedate little statesman there, isn't he?
No,
Does he just click his paws and then
stuff
comes to him?
He gets everything. Look, he's wearing his new tartan bandana.
Oh, it's so
Very
posh.
nice.
He is so posh. He's going to kick you out one day, mate. Yeah, I'm not sure if you come up to his standards.
No, I agree. Yeah, I wouldn't blame him either.
We're going to talk to this guy today.
Looking
This is Ben Pearson. Ben Pearson, who he looks mean as hell. I heard he's quite big as well. And he's got one of those really hard Yorkshire accents, like North Yorkshire. One of those you don't mess with. Do you know what I mean? Not like us. Like when I turn up at someone, I say, would you mind awfully stop messing about? You know, it doesn't quite have the same. Yeah, doesn't have the same effect. So that's why they gave me a gun to give me the upper hand. But
I don't have to say anything. I just get the dog out. The dog says everything.
No, but this is true. This is what we're good. So Handcuffed Emotions. This is what we're going to be talking about today. It is phenomenal. I've read it. And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to write a couple of little notes because I'll grab a few things out of there because it's mainly about his travels through police interceptors and obviously with the horrendous PTSD issues that he's had and the struggles he's had trying to get help with that and where we are. And it's a really common theme at the moment, isn't it, mate? But those are the notes these are just short notes that I was like, that's good. That's it. You know, it's a good subject, isn't it?
Yes, mate. Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to listening to Ben and discussing his life stories. And can't wait for that. So what have you been up to, Harry?
I've been receiving Christmas cards like this. Oh, isn't that good? Look, it looks like you've let some vagrant into the house there.
I have.
That's great.
Been employed a vagrant.
See, how do you get your family to do that? I have to get my son out of the room, his bedroom, first and foremost.
Yeah. Well, you mean your children won't be daft? My kids do.
No, they won't. It's all
a very
left to me.
Special Christmas card for you, that one, Harry.
Thank you. I'm very flattered with that because I am the worst. I just sent a card to my godson this year, and I said, I know I've been the shittiest godfather in the world, but his 20. Yeah, sorry. His 20 quid if you don't tell anyone else. But now I've just let the bag out.
I mean, thousands of people knowing how rubbish you are now, Harry.
I am. I'm absolutely rubbish. Sorry.
There's some great news this end, and I can't tell any of you it. I've been sworn to secrecy. So believe me, there's some absolutely fantastic news. I just can't tell you about it. You wait till you hear about it. Should be in the next 24 hours. I can't even go into detail because you'll be like, oh, I know what that is.
Do you know what this sounds like to me, Dave?
Yeah, exciting.
This sounds like your wife has bought you a present. And then you say, oh, my God, I haven't got your present yet, but it's the most amazing present in the world.
Yeah.
I can't tell you what it is, but and then you go away thinking,
go to the toilet on Amazon.
I've got to find something. So is there actually a surprise?
There is, mate. Yeah, really. I promise you. I think in 8 hours' time, I will be allowed to tell you, but I can't. And it's bursting the scene. I've been sworn to secrecy all week long, but it's amazing.
Is Finn pregnant?
Yes, he is. Oh, could you imagine? Well, I mean, Finn being pregnant would be an issue,
not really.
But could you imagine Finn puppies? Oh my God, Finn puppies would be amazing.
And the other thing I'm looking forward to. I've got my Matt Ritana Foundation rugby shirt coming. It's coming. So they're smart.
Have you got an email? Have you been sent an email to say yours is coming?
No, I just said, is it coming? And they said, yes, it is coming.
Oh, right, okay.
So they hope to get them delivered. They hope to get them delivered within fortnight of you ordering them. So if you haven't, get them ordered. Because they're actually, I tend to, with Formula One, I'm fans of Formula One, but I tend to get the shirts at the end of the year when they're really cheap. And the shirts, not necessarily teams I support, but the shirts that look nice. And this rugby shirt looks really nice. I'd have got it anyway.
Very cool. I can't wait for mine to come. We'll go back to Matt in a second. Talking about Formula One. Oh my God.
My God.
Roman Grosjean getting out of that car last week. Oh my God. Anybody who's not a Formula One fan, obviously Formula One, they're working on their safety all the time. There was a bit of a coming together on the first lap. Roman Grosjean got bounced off and went through No, sorry, his car split in half, and the half that he was in went through the metal Armco. It then, but if that wasn't enough, it then burst into flames and was a raging fireball as the safety car caught up with them. They managed to get a bit of fire extinguisher on it to sort of dull a little bit of the flames down, which is enough for one of the medical guys to go and just help Roman out of the car. Absolutely heart-stopping stuff.
And he went back. He's gone back with his hands all bandaged up, and he said he just sat in the cockpit. He couldn't get out. He tried 2 or 3 times, and then he said, "I thought of Niki Lauda and his kids." And then he said, "I sat there thinking, right, which bit's going to hurt really badly first? Is it going to be my feet?" And it's actually feet and thing. And then he thought, "No, I'm going to give it another go." His steering wheel had come off, which had helped, but it just shows. A couple of minutes before, he didn't think that was going to happen. But no, I like him. He's going to be a loss because he does have a reputation, does he? Does Roman Grosjean? He does. He visits the scenery quite often and usually takes someone else off them.
He does.
But so, anything else to report, mate?
No, we've had some amazing dog training clients. So today, this morning, the cutest 12-week-old white German Shepherd, absolutely stunning. And we put a little program in place just to build on his confidence and to get the foundations right. Once you get the foundations right for a puppy, everything else should be relatively easy. So yes, I've been playing with cute little German Shepherd puppies for most of the week. So it's been great fun.
This is a private one, yeah?
Yes. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Not a police puppy.
Cool.
Although he's so clever, he could do just about anything, I reckon.
Well, you know what I've said about Arthur, my terrier? He'd have been a cracking police dog. But I said, like yours goes in and bites people and dominates like that. Mine, you could throw him into a crowd. He'd act like a grenade. They would scatter a crowd, right?
Yeah.
And secondly, you could just have a smaller. I could practically fit him in the glove box, mate. He doesn't need a big, expensive police van.
Yeah,
but,
exactly. So I'm working nights tonight. So once I'm done here, I'm going to have some dinner. I might try and have a little snooze, and then I'm off to work nights.
So you're going on about your full-time job as well.
Making sure that everybody who's in the pub has got a Scotch egg, as well as a pint of lager.
Jeremy Vine's Scotch egg was not a Scotch egg, was it? Did you see his Scotch egg? He was trying to say this was a little Scotch egg. This is a party thing. It was like ridiculous. No, I mean... Yeah, proper one. Right, what have we got? Right, I think we better welcome him on, don't you?
I think so, mate, yeah.
This is the man, Ben, I'm just really looking forward to it. Read the book, a fascinating read. It's a real, think about it, Christmas presents and things. It's on Amazon. We're going to learn more about it. Let's welcome Ben straight away. You're with us, Ben. How are you?
Hi, gents. You all right? Thank you very much for having me on.
Good.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, we heard about you, a lot about you, and because I was just saying earlier that I didn't watch Interceptors because it was a bit like doing overtime for me. But although you were probably much better than me at policing than you were, I'm reading your book. You're actually quite a thief taker. Now you're one of those annoying people that were really good, and you got emails from your bosses saying you are absolute, you're unstoppable. Your jobs you've had recently in this, and you've nicked people for murder, rape. You've had numerous CPRs you've been involved in, and you've been through the mill. 19 years, mate, haven't you? What made you want to join in the first place?
Like it says in the book, I've always been fascinated by all kids' TV shows. When I was in early 80s, like T.J. Hooker, Dempsey Mape's, Chips. Yeah. And just this image of the police officer then, when times were a little bit simpler, I think, it just blew you away, the cars, the equipment, obviously yourself with firearms, that sort of thing. It just this image that portrayed to a young boy like myself, it was something that I wanted to do. And like it says in the book, I've never thought that I'd have any sort of like skills or things that I'd be able to put across into the police world. And it were only when I did put the application in, that's when I thought I might be able to go forward here. So, yeah, I think always childhood dream. That's all I can put it down to at the moment.
And was it a smooth trip for you? Because it wasn't. I had to apply a few times to get where I wanted to go. Dave wanted to be a dog handler from day one, didn't you, Dave? Before you were in the police.
I did. I just want to add one thing. You said you used to watch Chips. When Finn and I got attacked, Eric Estrada sent us a message wishing Finn well. It's like, oh my god!
Oh my god! Oh my god! That's oh no! I'm jealous now, massively jealous. I mean, he had it all, did Eric Estrada, didn't he? White teeth, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All smooth with sweet ladies, and no, it was good, really good. But when
just like us.
Things be different with that. When I put my application in, my uncle was 6 months ahead of me, so he technically did a bit of briefing, and he gave me some, when you do the carousel, the acting part of the carousel and the interview, it gave me some good tips and words of advice. So when I did put the application in, it went through first time. The interview was first pass, physical first pass, and then when I got that letter, you open that letter, and we've all been, and it just says congratulations, gives you your call number, your start date, and it was just completely threw me out of the world I was living in at the time. And then I think, hang on a minute, I've got to put my big boy pants on now. I can't play around being, I think it's 24 time. I can't. It's not a life-changing pub anymore, and having a good laugh with your friends. It's time to get quite serious at what you do. So yeah, quite easy to get in at that point. But then my real police journey started on October 1st, 2001.
2 years before me.
Yeah. And when did so how long were you policing before Interceptors came into it? The Police Interceptors, Channel 5.
Probably about 16 years. The film was for about 3 years.
Cool.
And that was the start, basically, of the downward journey for me. Not obviously the Police Interceptors, all the film aspect. It was when I just got back from my parents' deaths, so to speak. That's when it all started going a bit wrong. So if people have watched it, they always say that I come across as a bit of a cheeky chappy and that sort of thing on it. But being honest with yourself, it's kind of facade. It were kind of a lie that I was putting forward, and I am that person. But I was struggling. I was going home on a night and I was struggling massively. So when you saw, hey, like you said, he's a thief taker, he's going to do this, he's going to do that, every day were a massive struggle for me to come into work.
I've got to mention first, 2011, something happened with you, wasn't it? That road traffic collision. What happened there?
I was going to a facility in Bradford. So at the time, they separated the ops unit. So we were one, obviously I don't know how it would be where you live, but one unit in Halifax, one unit in motorway, one in Bradford, one in. So rather than us play where we think the crime's going to be happening, they separated as a massive distance. So I was the only TPAC trained unit that were close at the time. So I set off. Coming towards T-junction, I were on a red light. Slowed down, went through this red light. Transit stopped and gave way and waved at me, but there were two lanes, and I just didn't see the second lane. And a young lad came out from behind the transit, straight through junction, full speed, hit the side of my traffic car, threw me into all the air pillar, and I smashed my head at the car spun round, went through through some gating into a lamppost, and I damaged the right side of my head and technically bruised on my brain. And I woke up instantly, and now I have a speak like a stutter. So sometimes I get a bit thrown with words because it was the right side of my brain. I'm left-handed, so I struggled to hold a pen right. So I had to have speech therapy. I had to be taught technically how to use a pen again. It just threw me back. It was a massive learning curve. So when I get really tired, I say lose my gravy, but I might have a slaver a little bit, or I sound drunk when I'm really tired. So I had to build myself back up from there, and that's where the official, they've traced it back, the official journey of the PTSD has started from, really. So I've gone through it a little bit.
So that was before, way before Interceptors.
Yeah, that was 2011, and then just had some time off, just come back, just day in, day out doing your normal thing. But because the treatment I received at the time wasn't correct for that injury and what I'd gone through, the psychiatrist has stemmed it all back to it started, and the circumstances started in 2011 onwards.
I mean, I'm sure you've done a lot of research into PTSD now, Ben, but it really is one of those things that, well, I mean, we had no support, really, did we? I mean, I had very little support after my attack, and I know, I'm probably 4 and a bit years later, I'm probably just starting to be the person I was before that happened. It's taken a huge knock to me and everything, and I think that we've got so much to go still in our understanding of how that affects us. And this isn't to downplay the military at all, not one little bit what I'm about to say, but the military, they go away to I've said this before on this program, they go away to the theatre of war and they see horrific things and they deal with horrific things, and then they come home. So they come away from the theatre of war, whereas us three, we lived in our theatre of war, if you like, and we're always in it. It's day after day after day. There is no 6 months. I don't know what's best. There probably isn't a best. But it's not like you go away for 6 months and then you get away for 6 months. You're always in it.
And this is the problem I feel, though, because not only have you got at work, and it was through luck rather than judgment, I think, that I just had work to deal with and I had very little issues at home, but then people have their home life. And Ben, you lost your mother, first of all, and then there's a very moving account, particularly with your father, how, that was the time, and it's the adding on. It's adding on more stuff. And your dad was quite a character when he used to go out with you as one of the lads, didn't he?
Yeah, we're just my brother's obviously in the back room. He's in front room and back with kids, sort of speaking. There's me and my brother, and there were about 10 of us as the group of boys you all have growing up and hang around with, and we're still hanging around with together. My dad was the only one that was technically invited as one of the boys. It was always like, are you coming out? Was Leighton coming out? And is your dad coming out? It were accepted by everybody. And it was just, it sounds so bizarre. It wasn't my dad. It was just one of the best friends you could ever have. He sat down, and no disrespect to my mum or downplaying mum, he'd talk about ladies, and it wasn't uncomfortable talking to your dad about ladies. Yeah. I know it sounds so sad. And then one of the little things, these little tweaks, he dressed really well, he was just nice, he was genuine, he helped people, it just made people flock to him as a nice person. And then when he was taken away, that was sort of like, as you were just saying then, Dave, about the military again. I've had family in the military, and my best friends have been in the military, and again, I won't take anything away, but like you said, it's constant. I was saying it's a constant negativity. It's the like say for me, the parents, or for you the incident with yourself, and then the next day it's negative, the next day it's negative, the next day it's negative, and then you're dealing with either another fatal, another stabbing, or another. And then as soon as you get out of the car, excuse my language, it's effing this, effing that. Hey, can't you do this? Then when you get back into the nick, it's KPIs. Why haven't you done this? You've been dragged overboard for that. Then you go back out, and it's just this constant ball of. It's like a rolling a snowball down these big hills, and every day it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's just not stopping. And you're thinking the only time it's ever going to stop is either when I break, something happens to me, or in 30, 35 years' time when I retire. There's no stop date. It just keeps going and going and going. And that, I personally think that's not addressed enough. And I'm not on, don't get me wrong, I'm not on a one-man crusade or anything at all. And I'm not doing a finger-pointing exercise, but I think we should be in a world now where this is a massive, massive thing, is mental illness and PTSD and work-related trauma, but not to police, to firefighters, to the ambulance, paramedics, doctors. The amount of it that's thrust on us now, and you all know, it's just, can you just do a little bit more with less? We've taken 5 more off your team, but we're expecting 10% more from you, and it's just not happening anymore.
No, more Ben. Really, I couldn't. It's
And your mother was your mother was attacked in an armed robbery, and that really changed her life as well, didn't it? And so,
yeah, they lived in Spain at the time, and again, my dad phoned me, and he just basically said, "You'll never believe." And it's bizarre because it doesn't happen to anybody. It happens to somebody else. It's always one of those things you see on Crime Watch. It never happens to you as a family. And then they went into a supermarket, I can't remember called in Spain now, Esprima or something they called it at the time. And they went in there, and this dad turned around, armed robbery right in front of him. So my dad's like trying to help and do something, and this lad just literally picked this trolley up, and it was half full, and he threw it at my dad, and obviously it hit my dad, it hit my mum. My mum's gone over, and her thigh's just split in half. She was rushed to hospital at the time, and she spent weeks and weeks and weeks in hospital. Big operation, steel plates down her leg and stuff, and it just really, like my dad says, he's never been in that. If it happens to us, yeah, it's a bit of a. There's a, I won't say it's a perfect job, but you expect to be dealing with a lot of things. And you always say, like you said, Dave, catch burglars on. It's that little bit of a buzz in it. What percentage of your life do you actually catch burglars on? So when you're actually at the scene of an armed robbery and you think I can do a little bit here or a little bit there, it's different when you're actually in the job wearing the uniform. But for them, it just devastated them.
Yeah, so this constant pressure. Sue Wise is asking, do you feel that police officers get enough mental health support? We'll go into that in a minute, but what I can do is just play a little bit of you on the Interceptors. I'm probably breaching all copyright, but I think as long as it's relatively short, I won't get nicked. All right, so we'll just play this a minute, see what... hang on a sec. Here we go.
5-1 shows on it.
The drivers return to his home address 2 miles from their position. With kids potentially in danger, Ben hits the gas.
It's around this bend and it's on your right.
And at the scene, Ben's not hanging around.
Just put your arms where you can see him, pal.
Stripped to the waist and clearly hammered, the suspect is swiftly cuffed.
Okay.
Then Ben and Joe turn their attention to the kids on the back seat.
Just put your hands up. Put your hands up front. Just put your hands up front.
They're sitting on broken glass from a smashed back window and they're sick in the driver footwell. It's a distressing situation.
It's police, you're okay. You're okay. It's okay, you're alright.
Ben and Joe do their best to calm the children as their dads led off for questioning.
Right, come sit in our cars then. Your mum's coming. We've got your mum. Your mum's safe.
Okay.
Yeah, your mum's coming. It's okay, you're safe. You're safe. Come with me. Come.
The kids get a police escort to the safety of a squad car.
It's okay. Can we get mum up here?
Collected from the motorway by another unit, Mum is on her way. In the meantime, Joe's discovered the true level of the suspect's recklessness.
Okie doke. So I'm just going to mute that a minute.
That does give you just an idea of some of the stuff we deal with, and then Ben, and Harry, as well as I do, that you could have gone from dealing with that, when you've got your own kids and hearing the kids crying, that tweaks something in your brain, but you've got no time to think about it because they're calling you now, because that's under control. They're now calling you to the other side of your patch for another equally distressing incident.
Yeah. Well, I remember.
To then sit and untwine all that.
Yeah. And I remember going to I think it was domestic or something, after nearly shooting someone dead with a Glock. It literally is like that. This one, the things I noticed most of all with Ben, first of all, he's huge, right? He's a man mountain, unless there's very little people in West Yorkshire. Is it West Yorkshire? Or West Yorkshire, yeah. I thought, was it South Yorkshire? And then the other thing is he has just obliterated every stereotype regarding women being dumped with the kids, because there were many women there, and he was the one who took on the little children. I thought it was really endearing. It was so sweet the way you handled them. But isn't it sad how some families live?
I know that job, it was bizarre in itself, because it started off on motorway when I think what he'd done is had an argument with his missus, and I think he'd slapped her about and then dragged her out of the car, and that's how the initial call came on. And then he went for a joyride, and it was only when the call came in that there were no windows on the car and the children involved. That it's like everyone gets to the scene, and I just can't understand. We've all done it, but I don't mean done it, but we've all been there to jobs. I can't understand why you put your children in that predicament of being in a car. I can't understand why you drink drive in the first place, but I can't understand why you bring your children into such a dangerous environment. You could have stressed the war. And then obviously my dad myself, my son's 4, my daughter's 6 going on 7, and it'd break my heart if they were seeing mummy and daddy doing bad things to each other, so to speak, and those screams and that noise, that little kid just goes straight through you. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And that's what brings it home, and then that's what then adds to the next, and it just builds up, isn't it? I've heard. Yeah. It's normally traffic officers. I don't know how you two, because you're both ex-traffic, how you do your job, how you go and see some of those gruesome scenes. And I know of a traffic sergeant who's now transferred to another force, who said he got to his, I can't remember, but it was a ridiculous amount of number of fatals. He literally went from one to the next to the next to the next. And he got out and he walked to the scene, and then he walked away and laid on the floor. And obviously his team were like, "What's the matter?" And he said, "I can't do it. I cannot do this anymore." And that was
right.
That floor that broke his back.
That's a really good point, because I want to just quote something from the book now, because we're starting to get into the sort of depression side of things and PTSD, right? And this is a really good description. You say, "I can describe it for you by saying, imagine being small and standing in a glass box that is 6 inches thick. The box is in a black room. Zoom out about 50 feet. Look how big it looks. Go to 100 feet. Now zoom out again. A good half a mile and see how it looks. That felt like me inside my head and heart. I was getting smaller and smaller, locked in a glass box, surrounded by darkness." So it's not, I'm feeling a bit down, I need to cheer myself up a little bit. It's a completely different feeling, isn't it? It's that sapped of all energy and motivation. Would you say is that the sort of thing?
My personal thing is, everyone's going to be different, but I'll just put it this way: is you see that cheeky chap on TV, but I was dying inside. Every day we're getting, and I'm sorry if I get a little bit emotional, every day we're just getting worse, and we're getting smaller in the box. It was getting further away, and if you can imagine, like you're in this box and you can see a doorway. What that doorway looked like if you zoom back a mile, and you could just see it getting further in that doorway, like what happiness or the sort of getting out of the depression, so to speak. And I was getting to the point where, and I've said this, I think I said to you the other day, Harry, if it wasn't for my family, if it wasn't for my brother Millie and my children, when I were in my worst point, I wouldn't be here. I'd have ended it a long time ago. It just the amount of pain you go through, the amount of hurt, and I just don't think people realise. They just think you put this uniform on, and I think it's just it's like, don't you, Dave? It's a super cloak, it's a super uniform, and everything bounces off it, and you don't feel anything. And when you're going home and you're laid in bed at night and you're having night terrors and you can't sleep, and it's taking everything out of you. And it's not like that at the moment because of the therapy that I'm having. But yeah, it's a truly dark place, and you can see why a lot of people do what they do to themselves.
Yeah, you can. I mean, I found, and this was a stupid way of coping, but at one point I found that getting job pissed was the way to deal with it, because you live for that, and then it gives you the adrenaline, which wakes you up again out of your, while you're racing to the next job. And then you quickly realise that that's not, and you need to find other escapes, so that completely unconnected to the job. Hence why I do private dog training, and we've got the kids and all the other little bits and bobs that we do. Because if you've got, someone told me this ages ago, if you've got half a dozen things in your life going on and one of them goes a little bit wrong, it doesn't matter, because there's 5 other things to keep you going. Whereas if all you've got is the job, and then that goes wrong, and like you say, Ben, you then get an email from your supervisor telling you you're rubbish because you did one thing wrong at a really briefy job, and then the next person you meet swears at you, and so on and so on and so on, and that's the only thing you've got in your life, and it's going wrong.
Yeah, and I mean, you're really endearing the way you talk about Millie, your wife. Incredible support, and she's a police officer.
Girlfriend.
Girlfriend. Unfortunately. So how did the section react? Because this is something I'm really interested in for other aspects. How did the bosses, how did the force react, and what were the facilities there to help you?
In regards to my unit and my team, there was, I think, 3 on my team that I'm literally, we were talking about it all the time, because one of the lads has gone through it as well. One of the other lads has been off poorly with a few things now and again. So we've been really, really close, and I could unload. The other lads had my back 100%, but until you know yourself, you've been there, or until you've known the sticking points or the trauma points, or it's just hard to relate to. So everyone gives you a pat on the back, everyone says, come here if you want to talk, and I'm here for you, and ring your temperature. That itself was brilliant for me. My sergeant at the time, she was fantastic. She was really, really good, but she had to go off with a few problems that had come up. But when she went off, she still kept in contact through email, texts, ringing me, and it still had a lifetime. But when you go up the scale, like when I'm saying upscale now, I mean in the force in general, it doesn't know how to deal with. And again, this is not a backstabbing exercise, not shoot someone a point blank exercise. This is literally just saying, if learning curves can be made, make them, because as you're not going through advanced training or going through this, that, and other. Have you just thought about using your gear a different way? Have you just thought about you putting your hands differently on the steering wheel? Well, they're giving you that little bit of advice to make your journey and your driving easier. Why can't you, as the recipient, so to speak, the one that's been on the crappy end of the stick, why can't you give them? I'm sorry, you might be the boss, you might be the ACC, you might be so, but if you've not been here, you cannot judge me. You cannot tell me this is what we're going to do, because it doesn't work like that. Everyone is different, and everyone's trauma or PTSD is different. And to have one blanket, you are all going to go on this thing. So I'm stood next to Jimmy, who's broke his elbow and he's got a cast on, and I'm stood in the same line with the same paperwork, doing the same thing. And Paul sat side of me, and Paul's worse than I am. Paul's deciding, right, I'm going to end it tomorrow. I'm going to end this. And then, but you're all on the same line. It's not. It's a different conveyor belt. Things should be checked differently.
And that's very relevant, you say here, because I think police forces are slowly coming up. You say one bit that was really struck a chord is where we have all these posters, and the next thing, it's all going around saying, talk, mental health, talk, you should always talk to somebody. But then you find that nobody answers back, and you had a real struggle. And this was, I understand things have got better since, but this will be familiar to a lot of people around the country. I then found the number for HR and rang them. I told them I'd been waiting 3 weeks to get an occupational health appointment. Sorry, can't help you. Everything must go through your force computer system that has already failed me. I was at the end of my tether. I said, right then, if you don't get me an appointment, I will most likely hurt myself to do something stupid. You've got a duty to care to look after me. I put the phone down, and within minutes, occupational health ring, and I've got an appointment. Amazing. And then I thought, if I had been someone weaker, I could have topped myself by now. The structures, the money isn't there to give the amount of support that is needed. And I mean, I really feel for the few. I couldn't praise my force enough, but I was really worried about traffic officers who were working in isolation, who were doing the family liaison officer stuff in isolation, because traffic were the first things to be cut because ARVs were dual rolled. But we had a group. Traffic were often alone. And we've had trim for ages, but did you have trim, and was it used? It was one of those things available but not really available.
No, we had no trim. The reason that trim's in now, and Millie is my partner, she's a trim officer, and she volunteered for trim because of the signs that I portrayed and thinking I can help and I can relate to what's going on. Us as traffic cops, we only double up in Bradford or West Yorkshire at night time. In the daytime, we're all on our own. On a late, we're on our own till 10, 11 o'clock at night. We're through Bradford City Centre, Leeds City Centre. We're always on our own, unless we're really lucky and a patient who comes out with us. We're one double crew for Interceptors because we had a camera unit there and we had all the gear, and that's why we did it. But yeah, you are constantly on your own. You have got no one. And I'm going to sound a bit wet when I say this, but there's no safe space. There's nowhere you can go when you come back and have a cry or speak to someone or can we just go in this room and have a bit of a chat? I'm just not right, and I just don't want the rest of the people to see me cry, or I don't want. And there's nothing, and there's no one. Everyone, and I just don't mean this with the police. I just mean everyone in general. And I think in life, everyone's just out to cover their own back, and everyone's out to make sure that back is theirs, and then they can. I did this, and it's like it's not about covering your own back. It's about just doing what's right for somebody else. And I'm me personally. I would rather get in trouble doing something for somebody else, making sure that they're happy and they're safe, than doing something and saying, well, I can't do that, it's going to upset me, or I can't do that, I'm going to get into trouble.
Yeah.
You should be able to ring someone and say, yeah, I'll do this for you. You don't have to wait for this computer system. Take a bit of initiative. Someone's on the phone crying, someone's on the phone struggling. Where's that heart, compassion? And it says, but if you fall over in front of me, I'll pick you up. If you get hurt, I'll tend to your wounds. And if you're out and you're hurt and you say, can I have a cuddle? I'll give you a cuddle. Why do people lose that humanity when they're in a role or a post? That's just a human bit we've got bred into us. If you saw a little old lady fall over, you'd go over and pick her up. You wouldn't say to her, can you put a form in? Can we speak to you in 3 weeks' time? I'm just baffled by the sorry, I'm sometimes struggle getting. I'm just baffled by the plain frontedness that you will be doing this at this time. How do you know I'm going to be here at that time? You will wait.
Some people are asking what TRIM is, and it's a good answer. It is, Rob. Thank you for that. It's trauma risk management, peer-based support system. Basically. If something happened in Devon and Cornwall, the supervisors automatically get an email because it's attached to the log, and all those listed would go to their supervisors to say, have you done your trim checks? And so then it would be a real reminder, and then I could look at the log and go, look, there's a response officer from who works on his own from Honiton. He went, okay, I'm going to ring him today. And then, first of all, they're shocked you ring. I wouldn't have done that if I hadn't had that reminder. And if they need something more, and you think they might need something more, those are really well-qualified people who have been trim trained to actually give that first bit of, to see what else needs to be done and to give them methods and how to cope with that. So I think it was really, and it is from the military, it's a really good system. But like most of these things, it does take time, doesn't it? And you can't just get rid of this with one hour session. And sometimes with Jason Fox with the SAS, I think it was, and Special Forces, anyway, he was. But it took him a while before he found the system that worked for him, you know?
But I just think that just little things, and this is the simplest, the paperwork I've submitted. There's someone be able to, I treat this as when you said you've got these banners everywhere just saying, just talk to us, ring this number. And you sort of ring this number, and this one, FO, someone's rung us. They've actually rung us, and what do we do?
Yeah.
And they're going through his portfolio of hang on a minute, we don't know, no one's ever rung this number before, and it should be just like, can't we just have someone? And I just think there's a massive impact on A, communication, and B, face-to-face intervention. And just that little bit of just I remember there were a sergeant called Cookie who is left now, and he was like yourself, he were ex-firearms, he was part of our team, you know what I mean, so I was qualified in counter-terrorism unit and that sort of thing. And he once walked around with me, he could see I was struggling, he once walked around, Nick would give him a leaflet, talking to me, and this is, I've been there, You could see him wanting to give me a hug, and it was really, really affectionate with me. And I just thought, that's what you need. You just need that little bit of, you know, I mean, if you saw a doctor about something, you ring them up phone, there's a little bit there. But if you saw them in person, they can see things in your face, they can see how you sat, they can judge your body language. And there's so much that I think you can benefit from things. But we never had trim, so I never had that. But Millie rings me up sometimes and says, "Oh, we've just had this phone call. Something's happened, so I need to do this. I need to work on it." And I think that now, myself personally, I think it's massively beneficial. I just think it'll help so many people. But there's just so many little things, little steps that can be taken just to make it easier on you.
I think there's some charities now coming through, isn't there? Some 909 charities and specific police charities which are sort of stepping up to fill the void that I'm sure everybody in this room would suggest that maybe the police and the government need to fill themselves. But it's good to see that there is support building, and no doubt there is lots of learning coming from that, because I still don't think we're anywhere near getting it right. I think we've taken some steps. I think we're learning from the military all the time, but I do think, you know, paramedics and police their PTSD and their mental health issues potentially need to be viewed very differently to the military, although it's a starter for 10. But there's a few charities that have asked us to get involved, and I love seeing what they're doing. I think we've got a long way.
Then,
to
of
go.
course, there's perhaps.
Sorry, I'm just going to say.
Go on.
I think that might be part of the reason that the government tried to dissuade people from being 30-year cops, because I think there's experts out there saying you can't ask these people to do it for 30 years. You can ask them to do it for 5, and then if they leave, they'll probably be all right. I don't think you can ask people to do the sort of things that we do for 30 years. That's just my soapbox. Off you go, Harry. Go.
Yeah, well, two things. A lot of people are asking about Finn. Yes, he will be shown at the end, because that's all for all our mental health, is to see Finn just chilling out on the sofa, and it's like, that's nice, you know, everything's good again. But then there's practical problems, isn't there, as well? Because this will be very familiar to people who work in the public service, and the private service, private sector. Another example that upsets me greatly: the police applied to for my medical records from my doctor. The surgery asked them to pay £130 for access. Right or wrong, that is the charge a doctor makes. West Yorkshire Police didn't pay promptly, so the police doctors are waiting to get the report. My doctor is waiting for payment, and I must wait for them all before I can get psychiatric appointment to carry out a full assessment. Now, that is frustrating, and those sorts of delays can go weeks into months, can't they? And you need that help now, because you're just looking at four walls, starting to climb them. And I've always said you don't mind waiting as long as you know why and for how long.
Yeah, well, that waiting time then, I think off the top of my head, I think that was 5 months. That waiting time, and it was only when I made the phone call saying why is things not happening that I was told that. And then I had to go and obviously pay it myself, and I've reclaimed it back. But if someone had told me on day 2, this is what's going to go on, well, I could have gone there and sorted that out, and that 5 months could have been 3 weeks. So all I think that, again, it's like I said, it's communication, and back to communication issues. The amount of messages I receive on Twitter per day, I think I get 20 to 30 per day from people all around England, all in the police, fire, and ambulance. And they all say, in regards to mental health, is they're just not being listened to. And it's that thing of, why is it just not hard to just sit down and listen to somebody? Irrespective of what protocols are put into place about it, why can't you just be listened to? And I think that's what's frustrating. I was sat there wanting to be listened to, but there was no one to talk to. So if they had said to me about the paperwork or the payment, I'd have sorted it. Money to me at that point isn't an issue to pay. I wanted to know what's wrong with me and how to cure, or how to get into the fixing part of my mental health, rather than I'm sat walking in the 4 walls. There's only so much loose women you can watch, Holmes and Hammer, and there's only so much, like with my PTSD, I'm lethargic, I'm tired. So when they say, well, go for a walk, go for a drive, well, I used to drive at 120 miles an hour up to 10 hours a night and do 250 miles. I can't drive probably more than 20, 30 minutes without wanting to have a snooze. So it limits your lifespan and your life outside your house and what you're going to be doing. So that little bit of talking, just open up to a family member, open up to anyone that wants to listen. But I just found it so hard that a force that's there to look after members of the public struggle to look after its own officers.
Oh, Harry, you're on mute. You muted yourself.
I didn't want to rustle book pages and things. Thank you for that. I think it's very common for a lot of forces, and they're catching up slowly. But I think two things is, the money does come from the force itself. There's no separate budget, somebody was asking. Although there are certain charities that can help as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
You were going to say, Dave?
Yeah, there are a number of charities that can help. I think people need to know this from it probably needs to be taught in school, primary school, starting in primary school. Mental health, everybody has mental health, or whether it's good or bad. And I think you need to be told as a kid that if you're having a great day, you're not a freak, you're not a weirdo. It's fine to feel lethargic, and this is what you can do to help yourself. And ask for flipping help. Ask for help. My problem is I never wanted to be a burden. I needed help, and I never wanted to be a burden. So when I got that trim phone call, I said, "Yeah, I'm all right."
Yeah.
Do you know what people are weird? Do you know what they're concerned about? Is all three of us worked bloody hard to get into the positions we were in, and we didn't want to say something that might jeopardise that.
Yeah.
Because some boss says, "Oh, we can't risk that. If something happens now, and they told me, oh, okay, get him off. That's the problem." And you could say there's some truth in that. Maybe that should happen, but you can see why the delay.
Yeah.
Why people are reserved.
You can see it, as you just said. We're all at different forces, and you've all got the same mentality of the fact that you come forward, you're scared you're going to be kicked out of post, lose everything you've worked for, all your permits, your dogs, everything you're going to lose, and you're going to be like sat there thinking, "Why did I say anything? I should just put my head down and got on with it." Yeah. And it's just basically all. It's just have a bit of a.
We still treat mental health as if it's but you've already said it throughout the whole program. If you had a broken arm, people would say, "Oh, they're there. Let's do this. We can help you with that. We can adjust your seating. We can adjust your computer." But if you can't get out of bed and you don't feel well and you're not keeping up with your work, no one goes, "What's wrong? How can I help?"
I think that's a virtual hug there from Tony. Really want to, no, it is. And the other aspect, and I was saying this to someone who was suspended on very serious charge, literally criminal charge, and they were not guilty, and they were found not guilty. But and he said to me, "Harry, it wasn't the incident that gave me PTSD. It was the 6 years of utter hell of the investigation and the thing that gave me the PTSD." And he said, and also, and this is very familiar, is people forget you. And I say, don't take that as a personal thing. It's almost the feeling I get amongst looking around at people. They're so scared that they're going to have mental health issues, because it's there for the grace of God go we, there's no foolproof way of avoiding it. Plus complaints, suspensions, that they just don't want to talk about it, know about it. They just want to keep their heads down. It's a bit like traffic officers at the moment driving. The law doesn't protect them. They can't have their driving experience taken into consideration. None of their training is taken into consideration. So what happens? About 100 a year, we're ending up in being summoned for court. The judge was throwing them out as this is ridiculous. But it's still not gone through Parliament. But why don't officers, so many times they said, well, we're not going to drive and, we're not going to break the speed limit then. But cops are cops. And they think, it won't happen to me. I'll do it. But it's not right. The system doesn't back them up, does it?
No,
unfortunately not. But all you can do is try your best, can't you?
Ben, what's the answer?
Yeah, Ben, what's the answer?
I don't know really, because my life now is just like I said. I get up and I try and go for a run. So our lass has just done a sergeant, and she asked me a question the other day about Section 1 at the traffic act, and I just didn't have a clue. So as far as I'm concerned, I think all my police knowledge and things has all been put aside, and it makes me a simpler person. It makes me an easier person, and I just sit and write. So I think I don't have any answers for anything. All I want to be able to do is just make people happier, if that makes sense, without sounding weird.
It's a good target to have, isn't it? It's a good thing to have, and I think I said on my other podcast, I said, actually being nice is quite nice. It actually feels quite nice to be nice. You don't need an incentive.
Changes your outlook on everything. There's a few people on social media who I wish would just be nice, because then stop being such miserable buggers, which would have an effect on. Yeah.
Can I just about that being nice? I put a tweet out a while ago, and it's the lady who's looking after me at the moment, Sophia. If you're watching now, Sophia, and it was basically the fact of after 19 years in the police, I didn't like anybody. I didn't trust anybody. Well, we're a crap place. Everyone's a suspect. You walk into a burglar, car thief. You're labelling everybody out. You know that way, and everyone's going to take advantage of you. And it's only when you come out you realise, hang on a minute, it's not as bad as what you think. It's only because you're dealing with so much negativity all the time. Yeah. And when you're not dealing with that negativity and you're dealing with more positive people, more people that live in your area, more people that say hello to you, more people that don't just want to take advantage of you. And I think that struck a massive chord with Sophia. And I do read it over and over again, because you just think it isn't a bad place as what you think it is. When you're in the police, you just think it's constant crap.
We do have to remind ourselves, don't we? There are some, and a lot of the people here that are the familiar names that are making these comments and talking, and this one, for example, Miss Hampson, I think you were saying that you make it your purpose to thank a couple of cops every day on Twitter to say thanks for everything you do. It's those things that when people do say that in the street, I'm going to be one of those people now, especially if they don't know. They go up in the streets, thanks for what you do, and they're like, whoa, what, yeah. Whoa, hang on. They're so shocked by it.
It's like where we patrol, there's an area called Ilkley. It's lovely, it's absolutely fantastic. And when it were a sunny day, every sort of like Bobby's sort of like mission on that day was to drive from the depths of Bradford to Ilkley, which is probably about 10 miles as crow flies, and have a nice scream, because everyone that came past, what, officer, how are you doing? Nice to see you, officer. Yeah. And even though you're having a nice scream, all kids wanted to shake your hand, or they wanted to sit in car, everyone gave you praise. Oh, thank you for being in our area. And it gave you, like I said, that massive, massive boost. But then as soon as you got back to area, your brakes were on at your car. You know what I mean? There were people trying to ram you, and then when they did ram you, they just drive off in the wrong direction. And then all these things, like I said, it's just as soon as you get across a certain area, it's nice to like. It's nice to be thanked for what you do. And it's very, very rare. You've got to let somebody say thank you for what you've done. It's made an impact on my life. And then when you do read it, you know what it's like when you're opening it and you're like, I've really made a difference there. And so it does warm your heart in a way. So,
yeah,
you know what I mean? I am grateful.
I want to take this opportunity, Ben, to say thank you for coming on here and opening up, because it isn't easy, is it? Hopefully you felt like you just sat with a couple of mates and just sort of opened it. And we know that sort of thing helps. What's next for Ben?
I don't know really. I mean, I've got Sophia's helping me out, and I've got a lot of things to do on radio at the moment, and I'm meant to be doing something with Andy's Man Club. So they're meant to be helping me out with some things, and whatever I can do to push the message out, just to be able to talk. When I first spoke to Harry, I'm back writing again, so I want to try and do another book if possible. And then my main goal now is just to be happy and healthy. I want to get fit again, I want to get strong again, and I want to enjoy more family time. So I don't know, Dave. I don't know. I'm massively nervous about coming on, and it literally is just like sitting pub with some mates. Apart from, I don't have anything to drink, but I've got some hot chocolate. Other hot chocolate brands are available as well. So there's no alcohol at the moment for me. It's just it's about looking forward, and I'm not looking back anymore. So I just want to say thank you to everyone that supported me. Thank you to yourselves for having me on as well. It's been brilliant.
No,
absolute pleasure, mate.
It's an absolute pleasure. And I've got to say, it is a really, really good read. So Christmas is coming up. Make sure people have that. In fact, I'm going to put it on. There you go. There. That's the one. I'm just going to remove that one. There you go. Handcuffed Emotions. That's how it is. It's really good because you've obviously had a very exciting life. Fatals? How many fatals do you think you've been to? Any ideas at all?
Oh, here we go. We're going to have a comparison.
Oh no, because I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. You don't. It's not sort.
No, I can't. If I was saying over 150, I don't know, but somewhere it's been a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, we had 7 in 1 week alone, and then everyone were calling it Green Reaper, whatever you went, and it was just literally as soon as you got back in office, you literally X-ray Romeo 52. Can you go to? We've got a death behind wheel, and you're like, oh my god, not again! And that was 7 in 1 week.
And I always think the paramedics don't get enough. And the doctors, the HEMS doctors, the paramedics, the ambulance technicians don't get enough recognition for that because they see the same stuff, but they don't. They get in and dirty. They get in there, amongst it all, you know? So incredible people. We're very lucky in this country because places, my brother lives in France, I don't know what about it now, but it's just not, the expertise in this country is phenomenal on the front line. And I always had a rule I could confidently say, and I'd look really clever, is by saying, no, they'll be fine. Because I knew, even though their injuries were terrible, if paramedics could get there while they were alive, they couldn't do too much afterwards, but they would probably be okay. And that's how good it is in this country.
Yeah.
It is.
I mean, we have had those jobs, like you said, and there's literally nothing left to someone, and paramedics say, well, let's call it, and then within 2 weeks' time, they've rung you up and they're back out of hospital. And you're like, how has that worked? And then we've had other ones where they've said, see you, and you've passed them with the slip, and you've let them go from seeing you've rung them up 3 weeks later, and they're on a ventilator. So, like you said, all you need to do is, we usually just say to paramedics, what's your thoughts? And they'd say, yeah, it's fine, it's minor, it's major, or it's potential. So we'd go from there.
Yeah. Well, here's Michelle. She lives in... Go on, mate.
So
she
I'm
lives
just
in
going to
Spain.
say they just don't get enough credit, like you're saying. And everyone that I've ever worked with, paramedics and fire service side, have been brilliant.
And the fire service, you're absolutely right, because they're the ones cutting these people out, and again, getting very in close. And I always said to the cops is if they were real, the paramedics would get there. If it was dangerous, the fire service are in charge. And then the police just hang around and wait and try to keep all the evidence and the witnesses and the stuff from disappearing. And then we do our stuff afterwards.
Don't forget where you put tape up.
We do tape, and we're good at that. We don't always get it the right way round, though.
Yeah.
And
then everyone passes the paperwork from an incident commander down, and then they give it to you, and they all walk off like smiling, and you're like, oh god, no.
Can I just say, as a dog handler, I turn up, I cause mayhem, I do no paperwork, and then I leave.
Yeah, that's good. We love you for that.
When was last time you did a pocket notebook then for your bike?
Yeah.
What's a pocket joke book? Would be my answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no. The dogman we worked with were brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But they used to say, I've got a statement to do, can you help me out? And you're like, yeah, go on.
We don't use the computer system, so we can't remember how to log on, and oh god, just give up in the end.
Yeah.
Cornwall, because Devon and Cornwall, they don't get quite the number of jobs. They certainly get enough jobs, and they travel vast distances, but sometimes they are the nearest ones, and they get thrown in, and they're doing statements, arrests, and all sorts. But it's so important to try to keep that sort of resource free, so that because it's no good having them tucked up in custody when you've got a runner and you've lost a really good job. But it's a fine line here. It's difficult to know what to do sometimes. But here
I know what to do. Don't do dog handler paperwork. Simple.
No, Finn. Get Finn on there now.
There you go. Everybody's mental health problems have dissolved because Finn's on TV.
Exactly that. And here is Ben's going across the bottom is Twitter. His Twitter is at BS lower what's it called again? Lower score, is it?
Underscore, yeah.
Underscore, that's it. That's what it is. All right. So make sure you got that. And I think that's it. Hours up. We certainly could have you on again. That's good. So get writing that other book and things. And look forward to David's amazing. Stay on a little bit, because when we've got when we're off air, then we have the uncut version. So stay. I'm going to get rid of you at the moment. You'll be back in a minute. Thank you everyone for turning up. There won't be anyone for the next 3 weeks, I think, isn't it? Because Dave and I are busy on the 12th.
Yeah.
And then the next one. So 3 weeks. keep an eye out, and you'll know when we're on. That's the book. That's really good. For Christmas, remember, there we go. That one from last week, So You Want to Be a Peeler, that one's a really good. This is that's me.
People. Go back one. Go back to JD's book. Now get yours off the tree. Go back to JD's book.
I was just going to be nice about yours.
Anybody who doesn't know, there was an amazing thing that happened because JD was on here.
Oh yeah!
Go on, tell him quick.
No, you tell him.
I can't remember.
Oh yeah, wait, okay. Well, I think it was his granddaughter contacted. She's 100 years old, and she saw it, and she was thrilled to bits, and she's getting the book. And also somebody who lives in, is it Canada or America?
Yeah, Canada.
A very close relative who was there. So John has sent these books to those as well. So it's lovely for them to see that and see that family history and what went on. So bring it. Yeah.
See, Ben, the difference we can make on this cruddy little podcast.
It says, this is your life. Right, that's a mediocre one. Don't bother with that one. That's an amazing one.
That's the best one.
Yeah, that's the best one. But I think that's it, guys. We're going to leave it there. That's the main one. Get that one. Ben, you've been a star. And catch you all later, guys. Catch you all later.
Thank you.